provide their care.
With all the questions surrounding why this is happening, I think one thing that's interesting to note is that the press keeps pointing out, well, these children wouldn't be covered under a DREAM Act. They wouldn't be covered under a possible amnesty for young people who have crossed illegally. And I think that's sort of a big leap. I think that's a way of avoiding the other conclusion you would draw from this, or the immediate conclusion you draw, which is that this is a rational response to the perception that is out there, both at home and abroad, that now is a very good time to come into this country illegally. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about that. And I think now it's being forced because when people see kids, I mean, these are children who are, their lives are inherently at risk in this whole process. Coming across the border, clearly, one, the border can't be very secure if children are getting across it. And two, there is at least the perception, and I think it's based in some reality, that if you get here now, it's a good time to get here, so send your kids from Central America across the border.
Well, you say that's actually very true, because the Secretary, Homeland Security Secretary Jay Johnson last week announced that they are actually renewing the Deferred Action Program, the Dreamers thing, and during that announcement, it's being renewed for 2 more years, and during that announcement he said that despite the acrimony and partisanship that now exists in Washington, almost all of us agree that a child who crossed our border illegally without a parent or in search of a parent or a better life was not making an adult choice to break our laws and should be treated differently than adult lawbreakers. That message is out in Central America. They know that children are going to be treated differently, and our own Secretary of Homeland Security
If we're going to operate on this premise that children should be treated differently in terms of a legal system, I could actually see some grounds for that argument, but then I think that you would be looking at this situation as something where you're treating it as they're coming unaccompanied, as child neglect, or as a runaway. And you think of in the U.S., we have the Interstate Compact for Juveniles Act, which is an agreement amongst states where if a child runs away to another state, that state agrees to cooperate and send that child back. You would think that if we were going to say that they're different than adult immigrants, I could maybe see that argument if you were going to classify it as something different than just saying that they're illegal immigrants.
Perhaps if we had an agreement with Mexico or El Salvador or Honduras or Guatemala to send these kids back, then yeah, that would apply. But that's clearly not the case. They have no interest in sending these children back.